Story time about how my boyfriend and best friend were sneaking around behind my back. So a little background information, I was 15 and in 10th grade. So my mom and dad were split up and I was pretty much allowed to do whatever I wanted because of that. So I was dating this boy named Jacob. Well, my best friend Alice literally hated him. Like low-key, every once in a while, she would try to break him and I up. And when I would call her out on it, she would just deny it. Anyway, so the one day I didn't go to school because I was super sick. So the whole day I was trying to text Jacob and Allison, but nobody was answering me. Which was extremely weird because no matter what, Allison would always text me back. So after I knew the school ended, I went to Allison's house. Nobody was answering the door, so I used the spare key. I walk in and all I hear is a very loud banging coming from her bedroom. So I walk in, I see my boyfriend and her together, and then he starts saying that she drugged him. So I went on his phone, I see a bunch of old text messages between him and her, and them exchanging pictures. And then sis wants to start giving me an attitude, so I punched her in the face, and then I left and I don't talk to either of them.
So when I was in high school, I was friends with this girl. For story's sake, we'll call her Hannah. So it was like near the end of our senior year. I had gone and driven to Hannah's house, and it was just me and her. We were just hanging out, whatevs. And she starts talking about how she wants to go to this party that these kids at our school were throwing. This location was called The Barn, and it was a literal barn that this kid would throw parties at, right? So I had never been to the fucking barn ever in my life. I never had fucking planned on going there. Solely based on the fact, so the friend group that would throw parties at the barn, I didn't agree with their ideology. Frankly, I didn't even like any of them as people either. So I was like, fuck no, I'm not fucking taking my ass there. But she wanted to get her ass in there so bad just so she could talk to her ex-boyfriend that she has been on again, off again for how many goddamn years. And at this time, he was with a completely different bitch, you know? So in my head, I was like, there's so many things wrong with this situation and so many things that could go even worse. So me being me, just trying to please my friends, I was like, fine, we'll go, but I do not want to stay long at all. Like, just do what you need to do. Like, we need to be there like an hour max, maybe 30 minutes max. So I had hit up like 3 of my other friends to come with us because like, again, like I don't really know anyone at this fucking party, not really friends with any of them, don't like most of them. So yeah, they come with us, they pick us up, we arrive at the fucking barn, and the first thing we see is this kid fucking walks out of the barn and comes up to us and starts critiquing what my friends are wearing. Like, what the fuck is this? Are you a goddamn bouncer? And he's like talking to my friend like, I don't like the shoes you got on. Like, bitch, get the fuck back where the fuck you were. Do you, like, ugh. And immediately I was like, oh my god, I literally want to go home. But we press forward. So then my other 3 friends start talking about how they want to leave after like 30 minutes, maybe an hour passes. They're like, they want to leave. People here are fucking weird. They're giving them a hard time. They don't like them. And they just want to go home. And I was like, bitch, fuck yeah, like, I want to fucking leave, you know? So I'm talking to Hannah, like, all of us are talking to Hannah. We're like, okay, like, I think that was enough. Like, we should go. Hannah didn't get a chance to talk to her boy yet, so she didn't want to leave, obviously. She started asking me, like, do you think we can just find another ride and you can stay with me and they can go? And I was like, me being people-pleasy again, I was like, sure, like, we'll just find a different ride. And then I told my other 3 friends, like, okay, it's fine, you can go, and we'll figure it out, you know? Which I don't know why the fuck I did that, because we weren't friends with anyone there. No one was gonna fucking take us home. So the night very unfortunately goes on, and then she ends up talking to her boy, and I'm like, fucking finally, now we can almost be fucking done, you know? So, like, they leave me to go talk. I'm like, whatevs, private conversation, don't really care, but I'm by myself, so don't know anyone, by myself. So at this point, they were gone for a while, and I was like, fuck, I'm literally so over this, like, how long is this gonna fucking take? And I had went to where they were talking. They were, like, in the back of the barn, fucking back of the barnyard, and I go up to them, I'm like, hey, guys, like, what's going on? Can I join you guys? Because literally, the whole entire time they were talking, I was, like, walking around this kid's fucking house, like, literally a stranger's home. I'm just walking around, looking around, went in the barn, went inside their house, and I was like, wow, this is nice, you know? Hannah then tells me, she's like, the conversation's, like, really private, like, can you, like, go somewhere else? And I was like, fine, because I have nowhere else to go anyways. So I did what I was told, trying to fucking, like, help my friend, and I just sit on this kid's fucking porch by myself, and I'm like, whatever, I'll just wait. And then this girl comes up to me, and she's fucking, like, stumbling all over the place, and I'm like, oh my god, what the fuck? And she, like, grabs onto me and everything, and I'm, like, trying to help her up and everything, and I ask her if she's okay, and she's, like, telling me all the shit she was doing and everything like that, and I looked at her face, and I was like, oh my god, this girl, it looks so young, and I asked her, and I'm like, hey, how old are you, by the way? And she's like, oh, I'm in 8th grade, like I'm 13. And I told her, I was like, bitch, we are literally seniors, like 17, 18-year-olds. And I was like, dude, I should have known. I should have never fucking come here. And I was telling the girl, I'm like, oh my God, what you need to do, you need to call your mother. You need to go home. I don't care how much trouble you're gonna get in. You cannot be here. And at that point, I was so fucking uncomfortable. So then I went back to Hannah and I was like, please, can we like go? I'm so uncomfortable right now. Literally a fucking preteen came up to me just now. And she continues to like shoo me away because she's still talking. So I'm getting fucking irritated. So I walk into the house, like fucking storm into this person's fucking house, and I see a girl that I have like fucking art class with, you know, and I start talking to her. I'm like, hey girl, like, how you doing? Blah, 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 blah. And she's like, hey, like, blah, 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 like, oh my God, I didn't think you'd be here, you know, like, you know how bitches be, you know? So I'm talking to that girl, and then all her little cheerleader friends come over too and start talking to us because they were all going home together. And that's when I slip in. I'm like, hey guys, like, real talk, like, do you think I can catch a ride with you guys? Because, like, my friend is still talking, I have nowhere to go, and, like, I'm literally, like, just stranded here. And they're like, girl, of course you can come with us. So I'm like, thank God they were fucking there that night. So then I walk back to the porch, and, like, the fucking little girl is, like, on her phone and everything like that. She's like, my mom's gonna come pick me up. Okay, I sat there, and I waited for her mother to come get her, and I talked to her mother. I didn't even know the fucking girl's name, but I was like, I don't know why she's here, but people here are older, and these people are weird, and I'm trying to leave. She needs to go home. So her mom took her home, and then I went to go find Hannah again. I'm like, Hannah, I'm leaving because fuck you, to be honest, for making me do this. Yeah, I'm obviously mad at her, and I just tell her I'm going. And then I leave with all these fucking, like, cheerleader girls. And I tell them to drop me off at Hannah's house, and I get there, and right when I get there, it's fucking 3 a.m. at this point. Hannah then calls me, and she's like, can you please pick me up? And I told her I was irritated, and I was like, dude, I've been wanting to leave for literally hours, because we got there at what, maybe 10 o'clock? It's 3 a.m. Before I left too, I literally asked her, I'm like, is it okay if I go? Like, even though I'm fucking angry, I'm like, is that okay though? You know what I mean? And she's like, yeah, I'll figure it out. She didn't figure it out, so she just asked me. So she made me drive fucking like 20 minutes back, because she was mad at me and everything, and I can't deal with people being mad at me before. So I got her, I dropped her off at her house, and I fucking took my ass home, finally. Moral of the story is, it's okay to have boundaries, and you should be able to say no. And that if you are friends with someone who is constantly pressing you for their own benefit and doing things only for their benefit, yeah, stop being friends with them, girl.
Extremely toxic best friend story time. So when I was in 8th grade, there was this boy. And this boy would go around telling almost every girl that he liked her. And I was one of those girls. And he would do stuff with all of us. And there were like 11 of us. So we all hated each other. Especially this one girl, and we're gonna call her Abby. And every time we saw each other, we would be super mean to each other. Well, a year passed, we stopped talking to this kid, and I bumped into her at homecoming and basically apologized. So after that, we became best friends. And everything was good until every time I told her about a guy, she would start talking to them. Like this one boy that I was Snapchatting and talking to, she accidentally sent nudes to him and said, oh, sorry, I meant to send them to my boyfriend. So then she called one of my other best friends and said, no, it actually wasn't an accident. And of course he told me because he was my best friend. So I was like, whatever, and stopped talking to the boy. And she did it again, like for part 2.
Here's the story of my 6-year-long stalker that literally stalked me for 6 years of my life. I guess he probably would have stalked me way longer, but he's, so, you know, R.I.P. I guess. I really don't know. You traumatized me, so burn in hell. When I was 17, I got a message on Instagram, and it was from this guy who literally looked just like Tupac, like looked like an impersonator. And let's just call said Tupac impersonator Carl. Carl messaged me and was like, you are so beautiful, let me take you out to dinner. Of course, my 17-year-old self was like, period, Tupac. Yes, you can take me out to dinner. The only thing a guy my age had ever asked me to do was finger me in his mom's basement. So it was like, I'm being swept off my feet. Boy, was that a mistake. That was quite the mistake. I asked him how old he is, and he's like, I'm 19, and I'm like, perfect, I'm 17. He's probably so mature. Like, he's probably so mature. So a couple days later, he picks me up in a brand new Altima, and I'm just like, what 19-year-old has a brand spanking new Altima? I don't know one. At this point, I was like, is Tupac alive? Is Tupac alive? When I tell you I was expecting to go to like a McDonald's, no. We went to a steakhouse. At this point, I'm kind of like confused because he looks his age. He looks 19, but he's spending money like he's in his mid-20s. So during the date, he tells me that he only pays for dates if he ends up liking the girl a lot. So I take this as a challenge because I have $12 to my name at this point, and I'm like, he needs to like me because this place is expensive. Baby, I'm pulling out the bells and the whistles. Tell me about your trauma. Tell me about your ex-girlfriends. Tell me about your life. How's your mom? Everything I can think of. Hey babe, well, he liked me too much, all right? So he paid for the date, and then he proceeded to take me to Sonic, and we got the grossest milkshake I've ever tried in my entire life. We're waiting for that disgusting milkshake in the drive-thru. He starts telling me about the last date he went on with the last girl he went on a date with, and let's call her Maria. Start to realize that I go to school with Maria. I know who Maria is. Not only do I know who Maria is, but she's like in my inner group of friends. So like I hang out with her pretty frequently. After this like 3-hour long date, he finally takes me home and I'm like, oh my God, I have to ask Maria about Carl when I go to school tomorrow. Like, I need to know why he didn't pay for their date. What happened? She's so cool. Like, what happened? Next day at school, I go up to her at lunch and I'm like, yo, you went on a date with Carl? And she's like, Carl? And I was like, yeah, Tupac Carl. Like, what about it? She's like, please tell me you didn't go on a date with him. And I'm like, yeah, I did. He took me to the steakhouse. She's like, well, on the day I found out that he was actually 24. At this point, I'm doing the math in my head. Like, how old would Tupac be right now? And obviously it's not 24, so we were good. Like, yeah, and I also found out that he has a girlfriend. After we were done with the date, the girlfriend reached out to me and I was like, oh, awesome. So not only is he a creep, but he also has a girlfriend. Really not shit. Like, they are not. Obviously, I text him and I'm like, you're literally a liar and a creep. Why would you lie about your age? And also you have a girlfriend. And then I just blocked him. You probably would think that would be the end of that, but it absolutely was not. I'm definitely gonna need a part 2. I'm so sorry.
When I was 13, I made the worst decision of my life. It traumatized me so much. I'm now 19 and I regret it every day. I decided to move away from my family to a completely different city 2 hours away and live in an apartment with 2 girls I barely knew, one of them I had never met, to pursue gymnastics more seriously. The way this worked is Monday through Friday, we had gymnastics and we would do like school upstairs online. And then every night a different parent would come stay with us in our 1-bedroom apartment. And then at the end of the week on Friday, we would all go back home and then drive back up to the apartment Sunday night. So I would see my mom like once or twice a week and then some of Friday, all of Saturday, and some of Sunday. Why she let me do this, I have no idea. Also, all 3 of us were about the same age and I was in 8th grade. The only good thing that came out of this is I met one of my best friends who was the girl I didn't know. The gym environment ended up being absolutely traumatizing and we were all being abused. Things went south pretty quick. We were all crying multiple times a day. We would cry before practice, we would cry at night anticipating practice, we'd cry after practice, and our parents were like, you made this decision, like you gotta stick to it, but I don't think they knew how bad it was. We all started to experience panic attacks and we just wanted to be home. I absolutely hated like every second there and I'm pretty sure they did too. I have so many stories of just whack, horrible things that happened there. But like I said, there was one good thing that came out of it and that was meeting my best friend, and she was the girl that I didn't know when I first moved in. We became inseparable like super quick. We did everything together, and when we weren't at practice or worrying about practice, we were like laughing. The whole time we were supposed to be doing school, we would be laughing. Like, I never laughed harder than I did with that girl. We would have movie nights like all the time, and since we were all staying in the same bedroom, we ended up making a fort underneath our beds because they were all touching, and we'd watch movies under there. My best friend ended up bringing her cat, and we also had a hamster. That hamster is a story for a different time, but we had so much fun having like the cat there. We were definitely all trauma bonded because we went through so much together. I still talk to the girl I was best friends with. I actually FaceTimed her the other night and she's my best friend I've ever had in my entire life. I wish I could have met my bestie in a different way because the damage was so not worth it. This entire thing lasted over a year, so let me know if you want more stories from this time in my life because I have so many.
This is the story time of the time I dated the nice guy. The nice guy. Pathological liar whose heart I broke because I just couldn't take it anymore. Fun fact, I met this guy on Twitter. Also, this is pathetic. This guy on Twitter, and he had been liking my tweets a million times, right? And we'll call him Jason. No, we won't. No, we won't. That's my father's name. We will not call him. We'll call him him Jeff. We'll call him Jeff. I've been liking my tweets, and back in the day, liking someone's tweets was kind of like a, hey, I'm trying to get at you. Like, this is like a little flirty moment. I caught on. I was like, okay, he's liking my tweets, and I look at his account, and the profile picture was like an old one. Kind of tell that this picture was like older, but I felt like, oh, maybe he's just like a boy. Like, he doesn't ever update his profile picture. No. Just kind of waiting on him to like message me because I was just not interested enough to like be like, I see you liking my tweets, like let's get together. No, that was not the vibe. I end up tweeting something like, I hate when people like all my tweets but are too scared to message me, like grow up, like just like completely dogging him. He ends up messaging me and asking me on a date, and I was like, fair enough, like I'll go on a date with him, whatever. So that was kind of it. I was just like, yeah, I'll go on a date. You guys are gonna be at me like, why would you go on a date with a stranger? That's literally how all relationships happen. Also, we had mutual friends, so it like wasn't a big deal. Picking me up in his car, which, ladies, the worst idea in the world. Always bring your own car to your first date. You don't have a car, like find your own way there because you want to be able to leave when you want to leave. Makes me to get a garbage plate, which I feel like is a reoccurring theme with me in first dates. Mama likes to eat, and I'm already feeling like, you know, this is not gonna work. He's too nice. This is really weird. Opens the door for me, and then he stops at his house and introduces me to his father on the first date. At this time, I had a really hard time like cutting people off and just like ending things where they are because I just felt guilty. I felt like I owed people things. After this date, I kept responding slowly, but like I was still responding. I was still entertaining, which I know was messed up. And it was around Valentine's Day. And on Valentine's Day, he shows up at my house after us texting, and he brings me a necklace, a teddy bear, and chocolates. A necklace? I get a teddy bear and chocolates, but like we're like a necklace? Also, like the necklace was hideous. I'm sorry. It was really hideous. I already know what you guys are gonna say. We ended up hanging out again. It was so nice, and I was trying to convince myself, like, Emily, you're supposed to like him. Like, he's nice, he's respectful, like, you're supposed to like him. And this time, since the second seal had already been torn, we hang out at his house with his father. His dad literally got us, like, chicken and, like, got us a whole dinner, and we just sat in his living room. And then he starts talking to me about the army. Why is this such a man thing to, like, lie about going into the army? To be like, I'm going in the army, so that you'll be like, no, stay for me, stay for me. Like, no. If you want to go, like, do that. Like, do that. Like, I just go do that. Anyways, we're like booed up on the couch, and obviously like we're watching a movie, so I can kind of like see his phone. I'm clocking behaviors. He has it upside down. He's not really checking it that much, but it's getting blown up. It's getting blown up. Why is the nice guy's phone getting blown up? He flips it over quickly, and I see my name. And it's not my name, but it's someone with the same name as me. It was his ex-girlfriend. It was his ex-girlfriend. He explains to me that they dated and that she's like crazy, like, I'm just like, right. I decided in my head, as soon as I get home, I'm ending this because he lied about wanting to go into the army. He's lying about this girl, whatever, like, whatever. Go to part 2.